What day is it?
Hi, gang. Welcome to another episode of Hey Bill, What Day Is It? I hope you enjoy watching these as much as I enjoy putting them together. Today we have a special guest. She's sort of the one who planted the seed for this whole project, in fact. It's her voice you hear at the beginning of each episode. The one calling out, "Hey Bill, what day is it?" When I discovered that today is National Roots Day, it only seemed right to ask her to join me. So today I've asked my wife Eileen, my favorite gardener, to offer us some special gardening tips.
Thanks, Bill, for letting me be on this side of the camera today, but I'm really confused. You told me it was National Roots Day, but you introduced me as a gardener, and you have a picture of a big, beautiful tree behind me. Do you remember my garden experience this last year?
Yeah.
All my flowers died, the rabbits ate the cantaloupe, the squirrels got the tomatoes. I must have planted the onions upside down because not one of them grew. The only thing that lived was my corn and my weeds.
Yeah.
Why did you introduce me as a gardener who could talk about the importance of roots?
Well, for the last 20 years, all you've been telling me is it's all about the roots.
It is, but not the kind of roots you're thinking about. Let me help you understand a little bit better. Take that button thing and turn the picture of this tree 90 degrees.
Okay.
The other 90 degrees.
Oh,
There.
okay.
Now we're talking roots. This trunk represents the part of the tree everyone sees and knows, but it's the roots that are hidden that make it what it is. Sometimes they're pretty tangled up, but still it takes all those roots to make that plant what it is today. Now, as you know, I've been studying family history for over 20 years now. In fact, I've got more people in my family tree than I have friends on Facebook.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. I know your granddaughter has over 1,000 friends on Facebook. Well, I never could understand why you were so concerned about dead people that you've never met.
Because those people made me what I am. The struggles they encountered affected the decisions they made. The decisions they made affected what you and I would become.
Okay.
Make one more change in our tree, and it might help a little bit more.
Okay.
Instead of botanic roots, this is our real roots, our genealogical roots.
Okay.
Just like the other tree, we're the kind of people we are because of the roots, the ancestors that make up our root base. For instance, my grandfather would be considered a root for our tree.
Okay.
And he made the decision to leave his home in England so he could make a better life for his family here in America. Now, of course, my father would be another root.
Yeah.
He was orphaned at 2 years old, never got more than an 8th grade education. He lived in orphanages with relatives and even foster homes. In fact, one of the homes he lived in was his great uncle, who, according to family history, was a lookout for the Jesse James gang.
Yeah, I heard about him.
But by the way, it turns out that at the same time that my relative was running from the law, in your ancestry, you had a great-great-grandfather who was trying to catch him. He was a marshal.
Oh, okay.
It's probably a good thing they never met up together, or one of us might not have been born.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, Daddy sold newspapers on the street, and he credited some of the well-known St. Louis mobsters for protecting him.
Okay.
They liked his feisty little red head.
Okay.
So I come by my red hair naturally.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
sure.
well, it may need a little assistance these days. Well, he plugged on.
Okay.
He kept on, and eventually he became a very successful self-made businessman who, because of his past, was always willing to help those in need. Now, some of our ancestors were bakers, farmers, business owners, preachers. Some left their homes in Europe to escape the tyranny of religious and political persecution.
Yeah.
Because of the Great Potato Famine in Ireland, many of our Irish ancestors decided to set sail for America in hope of a new start. But some of my ancestors came to America against their will.
Oh, really?
They were part of the great Irish slave trade.
Oh.
Remember the line from the movie Blazing Saddles when all the townspeople agreed to let certain ethnic groups come into their town?
Yeah.
And they said all these groups could come in, everybody but the Irish.
Yep, yep.
Well, some people choose to live in the past.
Yeah.
And they base their personal value on what their ancestors accomplished. Maybe they had fought in the American Revolutionary War, or the War for Texas independence, or they invented some great item or something else. Actually, I had ancestors in the Revolutionary War.
Yeah?
The problem is they were on the other side.
Oh.
They were redcoats. Grandpa loved the fireworks every July 4th, but he always felt a little guilty about it because he said, my side lost.
Yeah.
Anyway, roots is what it's all about. It's so we never forget that they made us what we are today. But you know, in a way, gardening, you're right. Discovering your roots actually is a lot like gardening, because when you look in your garden, you've got exotic flowers, common wildflowers, and even some weeds.
Yeah.
But they all come together for God's purpose.
Yeah. You know, that's the way God works. It's almost Christmas, and most people read the Christmas story as it's told in the book of Matthew. And that's the book that starts with all the begats. Those are the names that people can't pronounce, and so they just skip over them. And they don't know how to pronounce them, and they don't really understand the significance of the 3 lists of 14 generations. And it's those people who set the stage for the coming of Christ. Some ran away. Some lived in exile. Some made it to the promised land. Some were kings. Some were slaves. Some were good. Some were evil. Some faithful. Some doubters. God used different people and different circumstances. But they all were a part of his great plan that led to Jesus. Every single person was right where God wanted them to be when they were supposed to be there. It's that time of year when we celebrate the greatest birth ever happened. But it wasn't a surprise. Jesus' roots were planted. Yeah. They were planted generations earlier. No, nothing's ever left to chance where God is concerned. God has known everything from the beginning, and he knew we would sin, and he knew we would need a Savior, and he knew that he was going to send his son, Jesus, to die on the cross for all of us. Man, I'm glad he did this, and it all worked out, because there's nothing we can do to save ourselves. Yeah. We just have to believe that Jesus is the Son of God and welcome him into our lives. We don't have a lot of time to cover it here, but on this show. But if you would like to know that you'll go to heaven when you die, then you can check out some of the references in the show notes below. While you're down there, click on like and subscribe and that little notify bell. I'll be happy to talk to you, communicate with you about this whenever you're ready. Anyway, it's time for us to get on out of here, and thanks for joining us today. See you next time. See you next week. See you at the same place while we discuss National Bacon Day. Yeah. Happy birthday, Jesus. Because of your triumphant life, we can now have one too.